If this was the week that you gave up drinking, smoking, sniffing glue or amphetamines, you picked the wrong week. At number 80, it's Airplane. Welcome to Long Play Video. Welcome to Long Play Video, where we're running through my 100 films of all time. It's been a busy day in the shop. Lots of people returning videos, getting ice cream. That gelato stand has made all the difference.
It's been a big impact, isn't it?
I think we've now just become a gelato shop with some videos, which is which is clearly what we should have done from the start.
I'm happy with that. That's fine.
And so now, as it's calmed down a little bit, we're down to number 80 on the list. Who would have thought? Look at us. Who would have thought?
Yeah, we've made it.
Yeah, we've made it. Yeah. So that's 20 episodes, 20 listeners. Thanks. Shout out to close family. But at number 80 on the list, we've got Airplane. Classic 1980s movie. I know that you would have watched this. I feel like you've even quoted it to me at least once at some stage.
How have you missed the obvious scenario there of saying, surely you've seen this film?
we can do all of the puns and the lines in the second half once we're refreshed.
Yes, I have seen this. I have seen this film.
And so we've invited someone down to the gelato shop to come and watch it with us, and here she is now.
Ring. Hi guys, lovely to see you. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Just I'm here returning a really good DVD I've watched recently. I didn't actually want to bring it back, but yeah, I know you got to do these things.
You get a free gelato for every movie you bring back. So
that's great. Although my uncle is an ice cream man, but but I'm going to do the right thing. So gelato is a definite bonus. So
what have you got for us?
Yes, the film's called Too So With Love. Do you know it?
Yeah. Classic.
1967 British drama. It's got Lulu in it and Sidney Poitier. Late Sidney Poitier.
Yeah. Pull one out. Nice. Is there a particular favorite of yours?
It is. It was just randomly on the TV when I was younger, and I was like, I think because it's set in the late 60s, and it's got a good story of the underdog. It's good kind of feel good factor at the end as well. I think and good soundtrack. Yeah, it's just got a lot of good things about it. I like it when it's got a good moral to it as well. So for all those reasons, it was a hard one to return.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Sidney Poitier, just electric and on the screen in every movie. Features later down the list and maybe a surprising movie, but we'll get to that.
Don't start this again. It's up the list. I'm not having this gaslighting again. It's up the list. We're moving out the list.
Okay, up the list. We've got to move on. We wouldn't want to repeat the same joke over and over. Or would we?
Oh, would we? Yeah.
So so you've never seen Airplane. Presumably you've heard of it, or you know something about it before we pass you over the video to have a look at.
Yeah, I just thought it was something to do with someone gets food poisoning on a plane. I think that's all I know.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. This is going to be an absolute beauty.
Yeah, I did hear that it's a bit of a thriller, but kind of comedy as well, is it? Or
oh wow,
more of a comedy.
You're in for an absolute treat. You wait until you see this film. This is going to be an absolute beauty.
I would love to be able to sell it as like a thriller and not a comedy thriller. But
comedy being the main word. Sorry.
I don't think that we would be able to describe this film in it. We'd have to stop now and just put the film straight on, but not to mention that it's a comedy.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the idea of food poisoning made me think of thriller, make it more of a thrilling kind of
Yeah.
Scary.
Oh, it's a
no,
thrilling watch. So there you go.
Right, yeah, and I mean food poisoning, and yeah, it's a thriller spoof. So
Yeah.
the thriller part does come through. Yeah, we'll pass over the video for you to have a look, and you can tell us what you think from that.
One of the top 10 funniest movies ever made. Oh, wow,
it's a big quote for the 80s. Yeah, I mean,
usually it's identifying who's made the claim as well, to make sure that it's actually someone. It's not just like the Indiana Times, and you're like, okay,
no. So it's the American Film Institute.
yeah,
So
AFI, big.
Yeah, that sounds like that's made up. So what are your thoughts based on, now that you see the DVD, are you thinking it's going to be an intense thriller about food poisoning?
Well, the back of it looked more like John Travolta in what was it, the Saturday Night Fever.
Well, that's so you're going to get at least one of the references from the film. So that's good, because I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people who nowadays, if they watch this, they're not going to get that reference. So
yeah, that's good that you got it. Yeah. So do you want to tell us a bit about it then?
I'll read the back, shall I? What I can make of it. So voted one of the 10 funniest movies ever made. Yeah, we got that. Airplane it's that good they say it twice. Is a masterpiece, off-the-wall comedy featuring Robert Hayes as an ex-fighter pilot forced to take over the controls of an airliner when the flight crew succumbs to food poisoning. So I had an idea about food. There we go.
Got it.
That's how it's. I love the way they've described that. It sounds like a comedy, doesn't it? So someone has to take over a plane because of food poisoning. An ex-fighter pilot. Yeah, it's perfect setup for a gag.
And I hope I say her surname right. Julie Haggerty or Haggerty, is it?
Yeah.
As his girlfriend / stewardess / co-pilot. Well, she's got a few roles and a cast of all stars, including Robert Stack, Lloyd Bridges, Peter Graves, Leslie Nielsen, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and more. Their hilarious hijinks spoof airplane disaster flicks, religious zealots, I think I'll say that right, television commercials, romantic love. The list whirls by in rapid succession, and the story races from one moment of zany fun to the next. Yeah, I can't even keep up, really.
It's a big description.
You're right.
Yeah, Julie's got a lot of roles, like I said, and I was already sold by the image on the front of the twisted plane in knots. I thought there was going to be some kind of chaos. So
yeah. What are you thinking of based on that? You're Eddie. I mean, it doesn't really tell you much, is it? Apart from like you said, it's the food poisoning, but you're probably not quite sure where it's going to go.
I think the fact that it's got TV commercials, romantic love, and the list whirls by, I feel like just I need to be open-minded to anything here on this one.
That's true.
And actually, if anything, I think this is great because, in all honesty, my attention span isn't the best for a long film that continues to go down the same route. So this, if it's shorter, it's got a load of madness in, I'm up for.
This is like the perfect film for you, though. It's like just a constant Instagram reel, or like just back-to-back tweets. It's just a gag after gag after gag. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
All right. So Eddie, why is it on the list then?
Yeah, I mean, just a classic. Growing up, watched it a lot. My cousin actually had it on DVD. So when we would sort of be doing movie marathons, and you'd watch like 4 or 5 movies, most of which you'd already seen. This would definitely be sort of the midnight one. This is like it's a good energy boost. You can just sort of, it brings everyone back in. It's great to watch. There's always a lot going on. So there are gags.
Yeah.
Like, obviously we just done Brewster's Millions, where we were like, it's really good comedy because they don't just set up a gag. This is nothing but setting up gags. Yeah. So every sentence, almost even in the background, there's so many jokes coming at you thick and fast. And it's not that like every joke is funny, but the making of every joke is quite funny. The fact that they are actually setting up a joke and then kind of deliver on it, I think a lot of the time it's a bit like Family Guy, where it's like, okay, well, I appreciate that you're just being consistent and you're consistently setting up the jokes and you're delivering on them no matter what. No one sort of doesn't commit to the punchline.
And I think the cast as well, right? Like the cast is really good, and everyone, and they actually play the roles really well. Especially like some of the deadpan roles are really good, and obviously it's all based off that, you know, in those sort of 1970s sort of, you know, disaster movies. So I think that's going to be, you know, just looking at that, remembering, oh my word, this is what people used to have to watch. Like in reality, they didn't get to watch the funny version. They had to watch the actual like Towering Inferno and things like that.
I think this was the first time that I thought that the 70s was funny. The 70s seemed very, very serious when I was growing up. It seemed like everyone was just very, you know, it was very deadpan. The movies, the like classic movies of the 70s, like The Godfather and kind of all of the Conversation and, you know, the classics, Apocalypse Now. I mean, I didn't watch Godfather until a couple of years ago, but that's a different story. But like they just all seemed like super serious. And this was the first time I think that I thought, oh, okay, because I mean, it's in 1980, but it's definitely a 70s movie. This was the first time that I was like, oh, this is what they found funny back in the day, because we're talking probably the late 80s, early 90s that I saw this for the first time.
I'm surprised the jokes have time to land with all the different things that sound like they go on in this. Like,
oh, look at that! You're getting your own gags in there. Time to land. Here we are. See, there you go.
That's the level. That's the level you should expect.
That's what they were going for. They were naturally just really funny. They just kept dropping these gags in without even knowing.
But you are right, Kev. They play it absolutely straight, and that there's a certain amount of admiration. I mean, this is obviously Leslie Nielsen.
I don't know how many takes they would have had to done. I mean, so many. It would have been so funny.
Yeah, they're all serious actors. This is the first sort of comedy role for many of them. Obviously, Leslie Nielsen was a serious actor up until this point, and then pivots completely into being like a spoof actor. So I imagine watching it at the time must have been really jarring to a lot of people that just thought maybe even thought it was going to be a serious movie. But I would it's. I mean, I don't think a lot of it will stand up. I don't think a lot of it will stand the test of time, to be honest with you. But we'll get there. But what about you, Kev? What's your sort of earliest memories of having seen it?
Oh, I can't really remember. I feel like this is always a movie that would just have been on like Sunday afternoon or something on ITV in the UK, where it would just always be on. This type of movie would always be playing. I guess because is it a U? Or
I don't know.
It must be like,
I don't know.
Classic, it's PG. Yeah, it says.
Yeah. I think it would have to. Well, it was probably edited quite down, or it would have to be in the evening.
Yeah.
I don't think this isn't. The British TV.
Food poison couldn't be a U, could it?
No. Yeah.
Well, nowadays, who knows? Yeah. I don't know.
Kill horses maybe it'd be news, but not people.
Well, yeah. So. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I remember it just being on, you know. This isn't a film that I remember specifically sitting down and watching and actually being like engrossed in. I remember it just sort of being on. And so I was probably doing something else, like, you know, my parents were probably watching it. But I don't really remember specifically sort of sitting down and just working through it all, which, you know, then you can see on many different occasions and sort of piece those memories together to get the full film, because it's just like you said, it's just gags after gags after gags. So it's almost like an extended version of Saturday Night Live, just all based on an aeroplane. So it's going to be interesting rewatching it. Like you said, does it really stand up, or does it really sort of fall over or not? I mean, I can remember even just seeing like the inflatable buying that. That's just reminded me of one of the scenes. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it will hold up. Who knows? It could be interesting. But
Yeah,
so
I don't remember any of the jokes particularly punching down. I think that's kind of the thing with it. I don't think there's I think there's a lot of things that wouldn't be allowed, or I think it would get cancelled pretty quickly coming out now. But at the same time, I don't think there's going to be anything. There's nothing that I remember kind of being too bad that I'm just like, yeah, that's just completely out of order. Because again, the jokes are one thing, but like making the joke is you're laughing at the person that is making the joke as much as you're laughing at the person that the joke is kind of made at the expense of, because they are sort of silly, and it does get surreal, and it is it just is pretty like dumb humor and like sight gags and stuff like that. So it's not like there's too many. There's maybe a couple of ones where they're making fun of particular types of people.
So is it like physical comedy as well, or is it just like the way they deliver the line, like you mentioned there, a bit silly? So
definitely physical comedy as well, like setups that like they'll be saying something and then something in the background will change. Without spoilers, there's basically there's a joke at the very start where they're at an airport, and the sort of over the tannoy announcers are talking about like the white zone and the red zone and no parking and no stopping, and I think that sort of sets up the movie very much, because that is, as you know, there's stuff going on, so you can kind of miss it. It's just almost in the background, but it's also where that joke goes is more controversial maybe than it needs to be. And I think it's just like almost pay attention to that, and then that will kind of be like, okay, it's this type of film. It that's the thing. The film sets its stall out quite early as to what it's going to be.
What are you thinking, Zoe? Do you think that you're is this the type of film that you normally watch, or do you think you're going to enjoy it?
I am definitely intrigued, especially with like not just like the delivery of the jokes, but the silliness and the fact that it sounds like it's got a few different references to different things. And I appreciate Andy's sort of tip off at the beginning to keep attention to the beginning part with the red and white zones, because that is something that I would probably have missed. And if it's like a key aspect, then it's good to know.
I mean, obviously, it's one of the top 10 funniest movies ever made. So, obviously people watched it. I know. I mean, that's probably just been registered by a 12-year-old in their basement. But
the AFI is literally the American Institute of Film.
Yeah.
I think
hold on, surely it's the American Film Institute. Are you getting this mixed up or what?
Well, when you're on the inside, there you are.
Oh, I see. You're an AIF.
Twitch friends.
Yeah.
Andy, I am curious. You did say that some might find it quite jarring. So when you played it in the past, when you were younger at midnight, did anyone else watching it find it jarring at the time?
No, because funnily enough, I don't think we got the references even then. And now, I mean, it's funny. Like, you're just reading up on it a little bit. There will be a whole bunch of references that that you won't get and that we won't get, because they're from like 1970s adverts on American TV that we just have no idea about. But like, that's the thing. It doesn't dwell on anything. It doesn't dwell on them. It just moves on to the next thing. So sort of actually like looking it up and stuff. Plus, I mean, back in the 80s and 90s, obviously, like, people were like, it's a comedy. It doesn't matter. Like, don't get offended by it. Whereas now everyone loves to get offended, because otherwise, what have they got to tweet about? I mean, literally, if you did a Google search and said top 10 comedy movies of all time, I think this is going to be on every list on the first page until you start getting to like random results and just people's stuff.
Look at that.
It completely is like this is
you at this rate. Your quote's going to be on this DVD cover. It's just
After you've watched it, after we've watched it, we're gonna pull up. We're gonna get the old Spectrum going in the shop. We're gonna go onto the internet and we're gonna search top 10 comedy films of all time, and I bet you this is in every single list. Even like at 1 or 2, I would say.
I'm gonna, from now until we regroup for part 2, after we've watched it, I'm gonna do nothing but look up top 10 comedy lists.
Me too.
It's gonna be in there. This isn't just a random film. Like let's just make sure it's not just like something that no one's ever heard of. And you're going to be like, Andy introduced me to this small film, Airplane.
I should point out, Zoe, that I mean, obviously, this is Andy's top 100 list, so obviously he does like these films, but he's been selling in these films hard recently. He's been pushing them like he's on a commission. So
flying off the show.
Yeah, exactly. He is. I mean, it is actually. Maybe you could actually work full time in this DVD shop.
That's why people are coming in. Is it for the gelato? Yeah. Is it my sales pictures?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, you're upselling them gelato. It just looks like they're buying the gelato. But it's
you look hot. You maybe need something to cool yourself down.
Yeah, while you're waiting, why just put these coins in the till?
Yeah. So yeah, I would say it's good that you've got the first reference from the from the cover because I know that a whole bunch of people wouldn't have seen Saturday Night Fever. And that is a somewhat longer scene. So kind of knowing that reference, I think will make that bit easier. But
Zoe is a professional salsa dancer as well, so she'll recognise. There's all the moves.
There are some moves in there that you can maybe pick up and bring back.
Yeah. Bring them back to the shop. Yeah, we'll see them.
Brilliant.
Well, I hope you're ready and you're looking forward to it then, Zoe, because it's going to be an absolute banger.
Very much so. I'm just glad that it was able, that I was able to hire it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the last copy.
Yeah, exactly. Anywhere. All the others have been burned. Awesome. Well, I think you're going to be quoting this film from here on out. So enjoy these last moments of not knowing a reference. It'll be interesting because it is such a part of my language almost that there are people that will just quote these lines to me. And you sort of where they come from. What will be really interesting is if there's a line from the film that you're like, oh, people used to say that to me, and I didn't realize it was from this movie, and now it is, because I think there are a lot that made it into the kind of language and public consciousness. So that will be interesting. But these are the last moments where you haven't seen Airplane. Yeah. So enjoy them.
Yeah.
We'll put it on.
Savor them.
Really looking forward to it. Yeah, definitely. And as I said, I usually get distracted during long films and just end up just multitasking, but sounds like I can't do that with this, so that's great.
Yeah. I don't think you'd have an option to. You'll just be laughing non-stop.
Exactly. Won't even be able to pick up the phone. Okay. Well, we'll put it in and see you after we've watched it. Okay, as Kev takes Zoe off to get some gelato, there's not much left. A quick prediction: I think she's going to like the film. It is funny. It is pretty non-stop. I think it will hold her attention. I'm really curious as to whether there's going to be anything that's a reference that she knew. I can't believe that there isn't, from so many classic lines, don't call me Shirley. What's a hospital? Do we need to get these people to hospital? What is it? It's a big building. There's just so many lines that are just part of popular culture. So I'm really intrigued as to whether there is anything there. But I think she's going to like it. I think Kevin's going to have definitely seen it and at least once say that he didn't remember most of the gags because that's just part of the course. But I think it's going to be good. So we'll put it in and see what they think.
I would call it like a strong cocktail of madness. So being mostly comedy. Yeah.
Strong cocktail of madness. There's been a couple of Friday nights that I think I've had a few of those.
You've ordered one of them, but regretted it. Yeah.
With a strong cocktail of madness, you're likely to miss everything that's going on. And I think that that's very much the case with this film.
Yeah. That's a great description.
Were there any laughs along the way? Like how do you feel it stands up as a comedy? Because we were chatting about that beforehand.
Yeah. Oh, I get loads. I've written them down here because I just loved how deadpan the delivery is of quite a lot of quite a lot of the infamous lines from the film that I'd actually already heard of people say that I'd never kind of known what they were about, having not seen the film before that. And then at first when I was watching it, I was thinking like the acting was just too wooden for me, but that's actually the good thing in the way that they throughout the film, really, even if it's the physical comedy and just the way that the lines are delivered. And then I've just got a few favorite scenes, which I can talk about now, but if we want to go through it as and when.
Guys. No, let's go. Yeah, let's go through them.
Yeah, hit it up. Let's get this strong cocktail on the go.
Why not? I would say like the newsreel at the beginning with the pumping heart like flying around when the guy's talking like that was just totally unexpected and hilarious. I thought, what is this film about? And then also, I mean, we spoke briefly about the Saturday Night Fever reference at the beginning, but that was by far my favorite scene. Like, just because I was taken aback by the two women fighting, and like I didn't personally love the glass being smashed on one of the girls, but what then turned it around was when the guy like dropped his shoulder and then starts shimmying on the dance floor, and after standing next to the jukebox, I was like, well, yeah, this is hilarious. And then how everybody at the bar was just in sync, turning around, looking at like the two about to dance.
Yeah, that was so good that they have like the Girl Scouts, because he's like, there's always a fight about to break out, and then it pans up from the poker table and it's the two Girl Scouts, and you're like, what the hell?
Exactly. And then, but there's almost like a Dirty Dancing reference with Ted picking Elaine up like Swayze does at the end, to like doing the lift. And then when he looks like he's about to drop her, I was like, oh, this is just ridiculous.
I love from that scene as well when he says, I had to ask the guy next to me to pinch me. And you see him just like lean over, and the guy's just like, what? And then just like leaves him, because it's just like,
you're weird. I'm out of here.
And even before all of this as well, like when Ted punches the guy that was like trying to ask for the donation, for the chuggers. And it was just hilarious. It was like you just don't expect it.
Right at the start, if you kind of came into this film in 1980, obviously there's not been that many spoofs, like just generally. So I was kind of curious as to thinking like, what, first of all, because you kind of go in and you see it, like obviously the very start of it with the plane in the clouds and the Jaws music, you'd be a bit like, that's a bit weird, but like, okay. And then at what point do you actually just go, oh, this is a comedy? And I do think maybe the heart jumping up and down is the bit where you would be like, oh, okay, this isn't, because otherwise it's just the captain like coming out, and he plays it like so straight. He gets the phone calls and stuff, and that's fine. But then the heart starts bouncing up and down. You're like, oh, okay, this isn't a serious film.
No, that's it, exactly. I think because at the beginning in our previous episode, when you said keep a lookout for the distinction between the red and the white zone, I think I was focusing on that. And then when the anchorman comes in and there's the bouncing heart, I was like, oh, right, well.
We're off. Yeah. There are just so many gags, aren't there? And like you said, though, they're all like really delivered deadpan. They're like just, I don't know if they just had to do so many takes in the end it wasn't funny, or they were just that good. They're just thinking, we've got to get through this, so we've just got to get going to keep delivering them.
Exactly. Another fave was when they were like kissing in the water, and you're like, oh, look at them having a romantic moment. Then they get absolutely washed by the waves and covered in seaweed. I was just like, oh, it's terrible.
Yeah. You're right. It would have been interesting, wasn't it? It's almost like when you think about the first people that watch one of those first films, and they have the trains coming towards them on the screen, and everyone's panicked because they're like, oh my God, this train's actually going to come and hit us, because there's not that concept and understanding that this is just a movie and it's just a screen. It must have been similar with this, you're right, about all these serious actors that you'd expect would be in a disaster movie. Actually, suddenly it's this random comedy, and it's like, and not only is it just a comedy, but it is just a continual barrage of gags.
Yeah.
So, it would have been strange, yeah. I think you probably come out thinking, "What am I gonna have to go and see that again?" I'm not sure. I know what happened there.
It's just we sort of said before about like leading from one gag to another, but it's the fact that they overlay the gags as well. Like at any one time, there could be 4 gags going on. Like the bit where they're saying goodbye, like from the airplane, and obviously it's a bit on the fact that it's a train and he's saying goodbye to his girlfriend, but then she's like bumping into pillars and knocking them down. And then he gives her the watch, and she's like, "No, you'll need this." And he says, "No, it doesn't work anyway." And they're like piling gag on top of gag, and then they're just but which does slow down by the end of the film. I would say then it starts to be just like one gag at a time. But otherwise, the rest of it, even in the plane, there's probably 4 different things going on in each shot. It's definitely a style that is of itself, because there's not one gag they're leading up to. There's kind of 4 things going on that they're all kind of building up to at the same time and at different times.
Even like Otto, that inflatable doll that they've got in the film, and you're like, what?
The inflatable autopilot is great. It's just like the concept of someone sort of that going, well, what would the actual autopilot kind of look like now? Well, you just press a button and it would be an inflatable like, pilot. It'd make you feel better. But,
and then I think that just the fact that they just have no idea, like they have no concept of where a line is for the gag, right? Because with that, like there's a whole bunch of gags that you could do, but they have it like when he tears it off and then it's holding the girl's boobs, and you're just like, well, why have you done that? Like, why have you chosen that gag out of every other gag that you could have chosen? And it's the same even with the white zone and the red zone. Like I didn't want to say before we watched it, but they go to abortion as the punchline, and you're just like, they could be having like, you didn't load the dishwasher as the gag, and yet they go so far with it that you're just like, okay.
Yeah, that did surprise me at the beginning, actually, definitely. I was thinking, even having seen lots of like Adam Sandler's older films now, like previously before this, I wonder if like, is it Happy Madison, that their film kind of company? I wonder if they were like inspired by this film, because things like when you got the guy cleaning the windshield of the plane, just in the background whilst they're walking, it feels very like Sandler's older films, that you've got something semi-subtle in the background.
Yeah,
and
for sure. There's so many. There's so many films that are influenced. I mean, it's like Family Guy. I don't think exists without this as a precursor, because it's obviously like Naked Gun is a direct descendant, and Hot Shots because it's by the same writers and directors. But I think like all of the kind of comedy films that have something going on in the background as a gag. I think this is what makes that big for sure.
Yeah, and then randomly they had Kareem in it. Like, what? How is there like a super famous basketballer in this movie? Like, this is super weird. And
I just love that scene as well. I just like where he's like, I'm Roger Murdoch, and then he's like, oh, my dad says you don't even try. It's like, the hell I don't. And then he like looks around like, oh, did the other pilots hear me? I've got to pretend that they didn't. It's such a funny scene.
Yeah, that is good. And it's just things like that, isn't it? Like that they've just decided that they're going to introduce that. Like, everyone knows he's a famous basketballer. They're going to know who he is because he'd been so recognizable at that time as well. And they're going, oh, wouldn't it be funny just to create a scene where we know that he's not really here, and then one of the actors actually sort of comes out of character, and you're just like, it's almost like I don't know if it's like the Force Wall. It's like, I don't know, about 20 walls, and everyone's ahead of everyone else. It's like, I don't know what was going on. It was good.
The straight bits also are like, I mean, when before they get on the plane and Elaine and Stryker are sort of talking, and it's sort of so hammy and traumatic, but like so true to the films that they're parodying. It's that you know, that's almost what makes it, is that like the rest of the time when they're not doing the gags, there is like, I think you could edit this and it would be an absolutely legit 1970s like you know, plane goes down disaster movie. And they do it so well that they're so accurate, I think, to the thing that they're spoofing, which is why it's so funny.
I know. I think because I found her acting like quite wooden, and that's on purpose. Now I know that. But at the beginning, I was like, she seems like a lot of hard work anyway. She's not even giving you any reasons, really.
What are you going after? She doesn't seem very nice.
That was one thing I did notice in that scene. You're like, my God, the amount of like, I don't know, mousse or hairspray that everyone was using in the 80s. Everyone's hair is huge. Even his hair is huge as well. The volume going on. I mean, that's probably why doorways had to be increased in height. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I think for me, she's the best. She's so deadpan, and as it says on the back, you know, she's playing so many roles, and she's actually leading into so many of the scenes. I think she's you know, obviously kind of revolved around the main guy, but I think she's the best one for me. I think she's the best character.
Yeah, she gets to sort of set up a lot of the gags, doesn't she? Like that's you know, and she speaks to everyone and kind of obviously like brings the passengers and then the pilots and stuff together. So she's definitely a glue.
I did love the two little kids having the cup of tea on the flight.
That's there is an extended scene of that actually. Funnily enough, that they filmed. It's on YouTube. It's quite funny. They have like a really long chat in that, which is quite funny when they're just sort of talking about why they're on the plane and stuff. I didn't think there was too much that sort of didn't stand up. Was there anything that you kind of noticed? I mean, I think most of it's over the line for these days, but I didn't think there was actually anything too bad. Now if someone's got something, it'd be like, geez, Andy.
I mean, I just wondered more generally, like whether someone that might, whether it might be just seen as taking in more of a comedic light that may not stand up, as they say these days, is like the fact that Ted is suffering from PTSD, like, you know, elements of like mental health issues being joked about, like as part of the reference of this. I just don't know whether it would resonate in some respects, maybe, but I know that it is done in a comedic light. It's just thinking of ways that it might come across for some members of the public watching nowadays.
That's fair. I think I think that's that's a good point. And I think that's I think it's definitely a different time, but that's stuff like that, right? That just shows how long ago it was for sure.
It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, this is a different pod, but it's the line of comedy versus content of what is still comedy, and difficult one. But I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I think there was quite a lot of random Jewish gags, which I was like, what was going on with the 80s and all, like. It's like, why are there loads of Jewish gags? And then, I think I'm just trying to remember now, because I think I started watching a bit of Airplane 2 as well afterwards to see what that was like. And I think they start off with some Iranian gags in that. And I was just like, what is going on? What are they just like moving around the world? Yeah. So I don't know. That seemed a little bit, I don't know. I was like, because I guess if you spread it round, then it feels like, okay, everyone's getting gags. But if it's just focused on Jewish people, you're like, is this just a bit too, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the writers and directors are all Jewish. So it's, like, are they making fun of themselves? Are they
making stuff?
Fun, or are they doing that to like, because they're making fun of people making fun? And sort of
meta,
actually laughing at the fact that people will laugh at that because I don't know. It's funny, isn't it? But again, because it's like knowing who the writers are and the directors are, can put context to it, but should it actually sort of stand up without that? And that's the age-old thing, isn't it?
That kind of comes back, I guess, to the question, isn't it? Is are we being too oversensitive with comedy these days? At the end of the day, it's comedy.
Yeah. No, and that's especially, I think, with something like this, where it's not that its heart's in the right place, but like it is satire, so therefore, as I say, like, I don't think they know where the line is. But that in itself is part of the satire, right? It's almost to say, even at the time, okay, well, this isn't safe comedy. This is something, we're going to push the line, because then it comes back to, like, should you be able to joke about everything? And you know what? Some people are going to be offended by it, and some people are going to find it funny. And if people have the right to be offended by it, then you know what? The other people have the right to find it funny and to laugh. And, that's a personal opinion. So
I did watch it in two parts, and like, first half and second half in the second day. And I was thinking, like,
thanks for explaining 2 parts, Zoe.
I mean, everything's literal. This comedy is my explanation.
I wondered what you meant, but now that you've explained it, I understand.
I think partly the reason being is, like, you've got to be in the mindset of just, like, relaxing with it. And I think because I was finding that I was trying not to miss things, but then also if I was just thinking about all the things that could be happening, then you don't relax and enjoy the one thing that's really funny. And and those bits that were, like, over the line, I think you just got to try not to take it too seriously, because it's inevitable to happen throughout. So
I think that is, you're exactly right, that almost there's so much going on, especially at the first half. The second half of your sitting must have been a lot slower than the first half, because it feels like there's so much going on in the first half with, like, several gags, and then in the second half it really slows down, and then there is, I mean, the guy in the tower pretty much sort of is the only funny thing that's going on for quite a few of the scenes, which, it's funny, but then it goes much further down. And I do think with the beginning bit, with sort of how much there is going on, you're wanting to catch it almost sort of means that you're not fully, like, invested in the movie. You're trying to spot what's funny, and that in itself is a bit of a challenge, isn't it? Because you're like, well, then it's not funny, because actually it feels a bit like work that I'm having to track down all the funny bits.
And I think that's the thing at the start of it. They kind of start off small, they give you little crumbs of scenes that they're going to set up, but they don't really go into too much depth really on most of the scenes, which is good, because then you can, then the gag comes. Whereas, I think you said in the last third, it really is focusing on him, getting the plane to land, and you're like, it's almost like they're trying to build a story. Guys, I thought we all agreed there's no story really, but all of a sudden you're trying to shoehorn one in at the end of the movie. So you're right. I think definitely it's weird, because it's an hour and a half, and as you said, it's so intense at the start, but near the end I was like, whoa, this feels long now, even though it's only an hour and a half, which is short really these days. I mean, what's that? That's like half a DC movie these days. So that's just the interlude. So
Was there anything, Kev, that you noticed this time that you hadn't on a previous watch, and any gags that like stood out?
I mean, there's so many, isn't there? Because I think you could keep watching this and there's more gags, and there's obviously lots of, luckily with myself as well, there's lots of gags that I forget, so I can get to enjoy them the second time round. So there wasn't anything that specifically stood out. I think the scene when they meet, the dancing scene, that I don't remember that going on as long as it did and being as funny as it did, and they just layer it on and layer it on. Like when he's like, he takes the jacket off and you're like, oh yeah, and then he throws it away and you're like, yeah, classic like trope. And then someone just throws it back at him and you're like, oh yeah, no, like you just didn't think about that. So yeah, I think there was that scene was really good. I forgot how good that scene is. And then in my mind, I always feel like Leslie Nielsen's like a huge part. This film reminds me of Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
But I think it's just to your point, it's that the fact that he's done those other ones you were talking about, like obviously the sequel and then the Naked Gun films, and they're all the same sort of ilk. That actually he's not the main actor in this by any mile. He's probably like what fourth billing really.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that scene I remembered more. You know, just like you said, there's just so many things. Even at the start, when, as you said, Zoe, when that chug was, you know, harassing him, and he just takes his jacket off and just leaves it with him, and you're just like, he's that focused on what he's doing, and he doesn't want to talk to you that much. He's just like, you can just take my jacket, it's fine.
Yeah, I love the introduction of Leslie Nielsen as well, where they're like, "Oh, I think this gentleman's a doctor," and he's sat there with a stethoscope, and it's just so.
Are you a doctor? Yeah, yes, I am.
Yeah, I did. The only things that really stood out for me this time, when he's talking about where he serves, and he says that he was stationed in Tranbury. I thought that was a nice line that I'd never caught before. And then when they drag Kareem to the back of the plane, the fact that he is actually half in his Lakers uniform and he's got his goggles on, so like he's actually changed.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he's actually like changed out of the pilot's thing, and he's wearing the shorts and the goggles that he always used to wear when he played. That was that was quite funny. That they do actually make him into a basketball player at the end. So what did you have for the describing the plot to Aliens then? It's how meta did you go?
Well, I really tried to condense my words, which I tend to struggle with at the best of times, but this is what so a traumatized pilot must overcome his fear of flying to safely land a plane in crisis, reunited with his ex-girlfriend in the middle of absurd chaos and hilarious mishaps.
There you go.
Hilarious that sounds mishaps. That's a
perfect blurb for the background.
that's a good one. The aliens are really going to understand right from the start.
They will.
What did you have, Kev?
Mine's a little bit different. I would say I'll just put, this is what our spaceships were like in the 70s. There you go.
That's quite different.
I think you're thinking of airplane too.
Well, I just thought like, by the time aliens get here, you know, or they always been here, you know, just to increase our viewership of the conspiracy theorists. I thought, well, they would have had great spaceships by then. So then they'll look back and go, what were these things? What were they doing? What about you, Andy?
I just went for an airplane serves rotten fish and is saved mostly by an inflatable man.
Yeah,
let's focus on the true hero of the movie.
And this, Andy, everything all comes full circle. This comes back to Beast of the Southern Wild, where you just don't want to be getting involved in fish. You can't be getting involved in fish.
You'd be fine. Or you'd be the one person on the plane that would be fine. Everyone else ordered the fish. But
everyone else is trying to be super healthy.
Yeah, I think I need to rethink my audience. Don't I? It's aliens, not actual people. Have gone far too literal with it.
I mean, they'll be super intelligent. So, you know,
hey Zoe, you know, we might be aliens. You don't know. So, this might be all part of our plan, just to make sure that you're all just keep going on, keep working, keep that hamster wheel moving. All right. Was there anything that the film asks or answers that?
I do think just generally it is the like, where is the line, and what can you make fun of? I mean, even at the time, because obviously, it's 1988. So the Vietnam War's not really sort of like fodder for a lot of comedy at that stage, because it's very fresh in people's minds. So, I think it was pushing the envelope back then, and obviously, I think that just gets worse and worse as time goes on. Maybe we'll go full circle again. You know, if you shame people for things that they find funny, like net, it just means that there's less humor and there's less laughter in the world, and I'm not sure that that's that's good anyway. But
it's such a difficult time, isn't it? Yeah, because you're right. Like I get that people don't. It's just very difficult. Is that you need someone, you need a super intelligent alien to come along and explain all to us about what is acceptable, what's not acceptable. But yeah, it does feel like.
I love the fact that we've done a suicide bomber comedy and then covered that quite well. And then with Airplane, we're like, ooh, this is a bit on the bone, isn't it? This is a bit close.
I just remember as well, we haven't said anything about the fact that like the questionable 80s things of the jelly with the woman's t-shirt and then the woman running in front of the TV at some point, and you're like, oh God, the 80s, yeah. Before the internet existed.
That's the thing. If you compare like just boobs obviously being funny to then like the gag where he's looking in the mirror and then steps out of the mirror, and you're like sort of as far as like polar opposites of how clever this is. You're just like, wow, it's both to have them in the same film. Maybe, I mean, there's 3 directors and 3 writers. Maybe like one of them is just really, really like, just awful.
It's like we need, we've got to get another boob gag in. We've got 2, we've got 3. Like that's enough. Leave us alone. And that was a bit jarring. I was like, but yeah, you're right. That mirror scene. Oh, that was so good. I did not remember that at all.
You're kind of focused on the guy getting mauled by the dog in the background, which you think is the gag going on, and then he's there. And again, like it's not funny per se, is it? It's not actually like it doesn't make you laugh, but it's just like weird. So exactly as you say though, you're just a bit like, what? Like it's just sort of and it almost makes you laugh just because you're like, oh, why did they bother doing that? Or like what's happened there?
Yeah. It's almost like to catch you off guard. So you're like, you've always got to be watching because you never know what could be happening. Yeah. And it's like you said, it's not necessarily a comedy scene. It's just something is always going on. And that was good.
I can't think you can dual screen back in the 80s. I mean, first we couldn't because the computer would be like,
it didn't have it.
It'd take like 4 seats at the cinema. And it'd be really loud.
You plug this in. I've got a 10-meter extension lead.
I just need to print something out so that I can read it while the movie's going on. As far as genres are concerned, I mean, I don't know whether you had anything. I think it's such a quintessential comedy and like spoof. I think it sets up everything. I wondered, did Kev, did you do your research? Did you look at if this is in the top 5 comedies of all time? I know that you were scoffing at the mere AFI, calling it a great comedy at the before we watched it. So
MF AFI, I reckon. I did look at a couple, and I think Google's just toying with me. It was top 10 influential comedies. Whether it's top 10 comedies, I'm still not convinced about.
I asked a bot. And I asked the bot to go and search all comedy lists and to give me the top 3. Yeah. And they had Young Frankenstein, Dr. Strangelove, and this as the top 3.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, Mel Brooks.
Wow.
I think as you say though, this is but comparing this to Blazing Saddles, I think is a good one because Blazing Saddles is kind of a spoof as well, but like they don't play it as straight as a Western as this plays straight as a disaster movie. And I think that's really like what this does differently to like even to Doctor Strangelove, which is, I think, I mean, again, it's not a funny film in my opinion. Like it's very well done. And Peter Sellers obviously is an amazing performance, but it's not like you're sort of laughing out loud. But I think that's I think with this it's there are a lot of gags that are just kind of silly gags that do actually just make you laugh, or just even like they're dad jokes, so that's fine, like you shake your head and you laugh just because they've made it. But
it was like in the 80s we were allowed to laugh again. It was like before then we were like, everything's too serious, you're not allowed to laugh. You can't watch comedy. You've got to take those seriously. And then the 80s came along, and everyone went, "Yeah, maybe we should have some fun."
Yeah, I really struggled to think of any other genre to swap it out. It was sort of, that question reminded me of, in a weird way, like when you try and do a sequel to a film that was already good the first time, and like a sort of Home Alone 3, the first two were great with Macaulay Culkin. Why did they have to change the main actor? Like, I feel like it would just be ruining something that already works well, like you said, disaster movie, comedy. Like,
we could do an entire series on Home Alone and the impact on that on our lives, and why did they ever do more than two? Yeah.
Scene by scene breakdown.
Again, I went a bit literal with the question, what question does the film ask or answer? I had like, can a man overcome his fears, save the day, and win back his woman? Yeah, he can.
Nice.
There you go. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's almost like she's the lead of this. She's like, yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah.
We
the question is actually, do you forgive your man for being a lousy boyfriend and let him come back into your life? Ah, nice. You've gone from the other angle.
Yeah, I did like that they do interject every now and then, though, and I feel like they do that in the first 2/3 of the film. Like we were saying, they interject these little scenes of them too, and they're funny scenes, and obviously, they've got them in different points, and then they just sort of give up on that in the last bit, and it's all just about the plane. You're like, God, yeah, I think it's as you said, Andy. I don't know. Maybe they're just exhausted. They're like, we've written so many gags. Like, we've got to just end this film. We've got to bring this down. We've got to finish this off. Yeah. So, any favourite lines then from you guys?
Well, I mean, so this is interesting because obviously we talked about it before we watched it. Like, what lines you might know, Zoe, from the movie that you didn't know were from the movie. So I'm intrigued as to like which ones actually you were like, oh, that's from this.
Yeah, definitely the "Don't Call Me Shirley." Like, even when my friends knew that I was going to be watching this, they were like, "Oh, don't call me Shirley," and I was like, "Oh, is that what it is?" So that one, and then like definitely the one around like, looks like I picked the wrong day to quit smoking, drinking. Means like that one I'd heard of, but I hadn't seen it in context of the film, obviously, at that point, and it does crack me up. But then there's so many, as you said, so many like shorter ones that happened throughout the film that it was hard to even think of a key one, really.
Yeah, because those are definitely just like part of my language growing up. You would kind of reference that. I think along with like no, I've been nervous lots of times. I think just is like a classic one.
I would literally just like laughed at, like the laughter like just came out of nowhere for that one, because I completely forgot that, and it is just so funny and delivered amazingly. What's something explaining it literally and saying that's not important right now. That was like that we would just say that all of the time. Have you ever been to Turkish prison and like just all of those? Like, have you ever seen me going around naked? Have you ever, like, again, we would just use that like as part of a gag about something else, just reference it. You'd be like, have you ever done this or you ever done that? And then for the couple, like Bob never does this at home. Like me and my wife will still say that now, to be honest with you. Like if I like don't order dessert or something like that, she'll say, oh, you always have dessert at home. And we still, it's just still just kind of part of our everyday language. So that's Like, you literally nailed all of the ones that I've written down. There were 3 key ones that I wrote.
But that's the thing, isn't it? All of these were just having seen it, these were just part of the language. And the drinking problem, and like kind of like if I'm out, there's a group of friends that if I'm out with and anyone like spills their drink, like everyone would say, oh, there's drinking problem. And then and Leon's getting larger is just a line that we would throw in every now and again, to a completely random situation, which is pretty random in the film as well. But all of those just like growing up even were just part of like our language and things that you would put in, and they like to have to have so many from one film, I think is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, it is impressive. It's also probably a sad indictment that there just weren't as many good comedies out at that point, which is unfortunate. But yeah. So come on then, let's get some of these reviews out of the way then. Let's hear how good this film was. Top 10 film of all time.
Yeah, funnily enough, there wasn't that many 3-star reviews, which I thought was interesting.
What?
Obviously, there were people who I think really love it or like don't get it at all. So I don't think there's that many 3 stars. One of them, trip down memory lane, not travelled well. Didn't fancy that. This one just made me a little bit sad. When I was a child, I thought Laurel and Hardy were the funniest comedians in the history of the world. Later, when I was a teenager, I thought Monty Python's Flying Circus was so brilliant and funny, I nearly died laughing. Now I am old. I can just about manage a faint smile.
Oh,
I don't.
Wow.
It does go on. That's not where it stops. But even so, I'm just a bit like, has someone checked in and made sure that person's okay? I feel like they're having a bit of therapy on Amazon. I'd like, if Amazon were a different company, I mean, we know the truth behind it. But if they were like, if someone's reviewing that as a review, surely, like, send them a box of chocolates or something. Send them something nice, something nice.
I think you're going to have to reply to this review. You're going to have to be like, and then also while you're there, can you make sure that you drop in the link to the podcast?
I'm not sure whether they'd find it funny. Clearly, I'm not sure. And then there was another one. Yes, there were a few smiles and the odd belly laugh, but I will still pass the Stevie on to friends' charity shop. No, I don't want it cluttering up my DVD collection.
Oh,
they're obviously very particular about their DVD collection. If you have the odd belly laugh, I feel like any film that gets even one belly laugh these days, maybe I have a low bar, but like a belly laugh for me would be like more than 3 stars. There's plenty of films that I would 3 stars is like, it wasn't obnoxiously bad, but still.
But real estate is a premium these days, and
exactly.
You can't buy a lot of square footage anymore. So that extra DVD, you can't afford to keep it.
My review would be, this is in the DVD part of my DVD collection that's in a box under the sofa, rather than on display. That's how we rate the DVD collection. So not all that much.
Fair enough.
Would you? I don't even know whether. I just don't think it. First of all, I just don't think it gets released today. I'm not sure that we can really do a better or worse, because I just don't think this gets made. I don't think it gets released. I don't think it's on streaming. I think it's
like 4 lines, isn't it? What we said with that, like 4 lines was needed at its point in time, and it was very useful film to actually try and educate people. And I feel like obviously people say that this is one of the top comedy movies of all time because, again, it's genre defining. It's changed genres. But I think like now although I don't know, maybe the way that we're going with our attention spans, maybe having a gag continuously with no real plot, maybe that is where we're going. Maybe this will come back.
Yeah, it's just like one long TikTok stream of comedy, but that's it.
but it's actually, it's having 4 phones and having TikTok on each of them.
That's it.
And trying to keep track of each one and being like, this stopped being fun a little while ago. This just seems like work. So
something's happened.
The algorithm. I mean, the algorithm. It just went for Hot Shots and Naked Gun. Basically, all of the films that this inspired. So,
which is a win for the algorithm. I think these films are exactly the same.
It's pretty basic, isn't it? It's like,
but you can't ever get the algorithm for getting it too well, but it's not complex enough.
Okay,
I think that's exactly what I had written down as well. I was like, Naked Gun, Hot Shots, and now that you said it's exactly the same directors, I was like, oh well, that makes complete sense, doesn't it? So, I think the algorithm is making a big comeback. It's
coming back. Is it improving, or is it just the way that the films are going? That would be
becoming more mainstream.
Maybe it's listening to the pod and we're influencing the learning model.
That's great news. If it can do that, if it can just, while you're here, bots, can you just send it out on social media, increase our audience a little bit?
Put me out of a job.
Oh dear. So come then, Andy. So it's on the top 100s. Where are we thinking? Is it going up towards 1, down, or staying where it is?
I mean, top 3 comedy of all time. No, I think it definitely stays. As I say, there's a certain nostalgia for it. I do think it was funny. It really, it really dropped off in the second half. I had never kind of noticed that. I think kind of when you remember it, and we'll ask, we'll get you back on in a film in like a year's time, sorry, and we'll ask you how you remember Airplane, because I think I remember it just being like non-stop, and I think because it's the first half that's non-stop, like then you just presume it was non-stop all the way, but it really does slow down. So I think it can drop a few places. I do think it's funny. I was thinking about it. I think if I had like 2 DVDs in front of me and it was Airplane and Night and Day, you know what? I think I'd rather watch Night and Day. So I'm gonna just nestle it in at 93, just one down from Night and Day, and just have it drop a little bit. But, you know, there's been a few that have got a lot higher. So
that's a big drop then.
Down. Yeah,
from 80 to 93. Whew.
Yeah,
wow. Bombshell. Heard it here first. Oh dear.
How about you? Where do you, we never do it, but how does it compare to other movies that you've watched from the list?
Probably sort of, I would say middle to bottom of the pack, I think, on the list. It was good watching it again, but I just don't know how many times you could keep watching. Whereas, like you just said, Nice and Down, I'm like, oh yeah, I could watch that again now. You know, like that was an enjoyable Tom Cruise, Cameron Diaz movie. So I think for me, it's more on your list so far. This would be more towards the back end. Obviously, nothing ever gets quite as close as the amazing film that was known as Once. But I really hope that no one ever has to watch that pain.
That's at the bottom. Okay. Well, and
you see that, Zoe? Were you about to?
No, I've not actually seen it, but I've read the synopsis. And I'm like,
it's good. If you're not dead inside, it's good.
I tell you what, Zoe, you watch it. We'll do a little addendum. We'll do a little extra review on it, and let's see how much you enjoy it. And you're not allowed to stop watching it halfway through. You've got to watch the whole thing now.
Well, that's it. Like maybe subconsciously, I knew that it was going to be, really hyper in the first half of the film, and then the second maybe drop off. It's like I knew.
You had the perfect viewing experience. We'll leave almost the last word on the film. But are you glad that you've watched it? Was it a waste of not even an hour and a half, 45 minutes separately in different parts? How do you feel having watched it?
I enjoyed it, and it sort of reminded me that I need to lighten up most of the time because really there is a joke in those things. So.
That's brilliant. That's I think I'm fairly sure the directors and writers would take that. So we'll leave it there. So we come back next week. So the quote for the film next week: "You always stop at the same part when it's very beautiful." Interesting. Little spoiler there. Thanks to Tom Evans as always for the theme song, and we'll see you in the shop next week.